Key marketing lessons from the book R.E.D Marketing, written by the former CEO and Chief Marketing Officer of Yum Brands, which owns KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and the Habit Burger Grill. Basically, this book, in my opinion, is the practical application of Byron Sharp's book, How Brands Grow, which has a lot of myth-busting thoughts around what marketing fundamentally is and dispels a lot of commonly held beliefs in marketing that obviously the CMO and CEO of Yum Brands believe in. So what does R.E.D represent? It represents relevance, functional and social relevance, easy to notice and easy to access, and distinctiveness. So basically these are, in the author's opinions, the foundations of marketing. Now, one thing that I really want to call out here is the idea of relevance, in particular social/cultural relevance. I think one of the biggest mistakes marketers make is they believe that the target market is just the target customer. But one of the most important lessons in this book is that it's not just what the customer wants or thinks. It has a lot to do with the cultural macro shifts that are happening in the market. And that's really not the customer part of the target market, it's the context. So we need to think of the target market in terms of all the 5 C's, including the context, not just the target customer. And that's going to be key to growing profits in the long run. So what really works, in the opinion of the authors, is building a powerful brand that stands out in consumers' minds. In other words, it's not just about obsessing over short-term sales, doing things like throwing away coupons. Real marketing focuses on the wave, the reaction. So a lot of people, when they first start getting into marketing, they think of ads in terms of, did this communicate the main benefit? Did it generate sales right away? But more sophisticated advanced marketers think, did this generate a lot of PR? Did it generate a lot of word of mouth? In other words, they're thinking of marketing in terms of dropping a stone into an ocean or a pond and generating reverberation, generating waves from that. One of the best examples I think of personally, it's not mentioned in the book though, because it's a competitor, is Burger King. They created this ad with a moldy burger to hammer home the point about having no artificial preservatives. Now, this particular ad, the direct effect may have been minimal, but the real effect is the PR, the word of mouth, the absurdity of this ad, this creative. Another great example is most Super Bowl ads. The placement in the Super Bowl is less important than the amount that people talk about them, the reaction. So that's really what advanced marketers focus on, the wave. Make our brands hot in culture and align them with trends our consumers aren't even aware they are drawn to. So one of the jobs as marketers is to see what's really happening in the macro sphere. What are the trends and shifts, the changes that are happening? For example, people caring more about the environment, about sustainability. People caring a lot right now around AI and not using other terms to refer to the same thing. So this is really the context element of the 5 C's of the target market. The biggest secret of marketing is this. The psychological motivation for why consumers might buy is often beside the point. You want to understand their cultural world because humans are fundamentally social animals. We operate in herds. We rely on social proof. We do what other people are doing. So effective marketing is latching on to what those macro trends are. Lots of marketers miss this. You need to align with the cultural values that are becoming important in the category. So this is one of the most important things in marketing is understanding your target market is really more like your product category. So what's relevant is product category buyers. So for example, with food, a lot of people care now about natural ingredients, but we can see from this old juicy fruit packaging that this wasn't always the case. Look what they put here as the subheadline. The gum with the fascinating artificial flavor. So at that time, artificial was cool. It was like new. It was innovative. Now it's dirty. It's unhealthy. It's unsustainable. It's associated with oil, climate change, etc. Natural's cool again. So that's why juicy fruit doesn't do this anymore. You don't want to highlight artificiality. You want to highlight natural. Another important thing is that salience, or basically visibility, is more important than emotional connection. A lot of marketers talk about things like brand love. We want people to fall in love with our brand. That's really not the case. Most people aren't in love with most brands, or in general, successful brands are only loved by a small minority of buyers. What's really more important is that you're visible, that you're well known, because that's what's going to get people to buy from you and buy from you repeatedly. Another key thing is that you want to change their behaviors, because changing their behaviors is what will cause them to change their attitude. It's actually difficult to change people's attitudes first. So, for example, if I'm going to spend a lot of money on a pair of headphones and I start using them, I'm going to start to believe those headphones are better. I'm going to be more attached to those headphones. Not necessarily what my attitude was going in, it's behavior that comes first. It's habit forming comes first. So, what you want to do is market to broad audiences. So, this is something Byron Sharp talks about as well. The authors are really critical of hyper targeting. And I'll go through the math later about why that doesn't work, but basically the CPMs are too high. And also, you want to downplay targeting heavy users, because they're, in terms of the overall value to your company, they're not very high. So here are some myths to some extent. Now, there are exceptions, but one is that people buy for rational reasons. Often they're not. They're buying because of emotional reasons, or because they're just going with whatever brand is familiar, whatever product they're used to buying or used to hearing about. Another myth, people want an emotional connection with the brand. Rarely the case. Another thing is that they buy for the purpose of the brand, and that's largely not the case, except in a few exceptions where your whole brand is built around a purpose, like Tom's shoes. But often the purpose element, in my opinion, is really just a way of generating reach or PR. It's not truly why people are buying your product. So I'm very critical of Simon Sinek, because some of his quotes just really don't make sense to me and aren't backed by empirical data. They're just him talking to get attention. So here's one of his quotations. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. To me, this is utter nonsense. People don't buy why you're doing something, they buy it because it's useful for them. It's an easy choice for them to solve their problem, or resolve whatever tension there is happening in their lives. Now, if we look at Taco Bell's marketing in the past, it looked like this. We had very silly things like this Chihuahua in the 90s. We had this campaign around Think Outside the Bun. But there was a cultural shift that happened where this type of marketing just didn't really work anymore. And understanding that is how Taco Bell is able to successfully allow the business to grow. So really what happened was the attitude towards fast food and food in general in the 90s was, it's just fuel. I'm just going to take it, go, and then I'll get to what I really want to do, which is go skateboarding or play hockey or something like that. But today what's happened is food has become more of the central focus. It is the experience itself. It's the thing that you share on social media. You're taking photos of it. So really, food is not fuel. Food is something worth talking about, and it is an experience. So that's why Taco Bell now came up with Doritos Tacos. This is an interesting collaboration. It's worth sharing, worth thinking about. We also have this PR stunt where a Locos Taco Bell truck is dropped into a rural town in Alaska, and this is worth talking about. This generates buzz, word of mouth. This is what modern marketing looks like in the food industry. Now, a lot of market research is really pointless, because everyone wants something tasty and somewhat healthy. If you're in the food industry, if you're in whatever industry you're in, there are certain key things they're looking for in the product. But doing research is not really going to give you any surprises there. People are going to want a standard smorgasbord of things. So really what you need to focus on in a marketer is not so much the positioning and talking about these points of parity with your competitors, but more focus on making massive waves, getting lots of attention essentially. So the key to an effective ad campaign or marketing campaign is being distinctive and being memorable. You need to be distinctive because people generally confuse ads with other brands. They don't associate it with yours. And being memorable means that they're going to remember you when they enter a category use situation or when there's a need for what they sell. Great example of this is Mentos with their cheesy Mentos the Fresh Maker commercials. Very distinctive, very memorable, great, excellent marketing. We consistently choose products we like, less because they were easier to get than the products we prefer. So people are fundamentally lazy, and often they just go with whatever the easiest choice is. So for example, I shop on Amazon just because it's easy. It's more expensive sometimes, but it's easy. They have my mailing address, they have my credit card information, I have an Amazon credit card where I get points from it. It's just easy. It's such a lubricated process. So that's really what you want to do. You don't necessarily need to be the best product. You want to be one of the products that's the easiest to purchase or to use. Understand that people want to be part of a herd. You are selling them membership in a tribe, an identity, essentially. So, for example, a lot of people were wearing Gap in the 90s when khaki pants were cool, but today it's irrelevant. Nobody wants to be part of the Gap tribe. It doesn't really represent anything. There's nothing particularly special about it, and hopefully they'll be able to turn themselves around, but we have yet to see. What you want to do for growth is align your product, your brand with multiple category use occasions. The more category use occasions you're known for, the more market share you'll have. So, a good example of where this failed is Brooks. Brooks has been around for a lot longer than Nike. But they really went with the modern myth of marketing, which is hyper niche, hyper focused. That's the key to success. Well, it isn't the key to success. Brooks only focused on marketing, which that specialized approach is generally what marketers advise, but it was largely a failed approach because that's only one category use occasion. Nike has been much more successful. You think of Nike when you need hockey equipment. You think of Nike when you need running shoes. Think of Nike when you need soccer cleats. All these category use occasions are pegged to Nike. They have more mind share, they have more market share. Much more successful brand than Brooks. So, examples of other category use occasions: a snack at the laptop, a snack while commuting to work, a snack while watching TV. Start adding more and more as your brand, your product grows. Stunts are an excellent way of getting attention, of generating waves. So, for example, Taco Bell bought the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. One of the key things with these stunts, though, is not just about generating reach or awareness. It's generating reach and awareness that is associated with your brand. So the fact that this thing had the word Bell in it means it's going to be associated with Taco Bell. The majority of advertising is attributed to the wrong brand. So you need to be strategic and think about this carefully. Will people remember this as part of my brand? You want to generate a breakthrough message with an emotional reaction. So I just found some examples here on YouTube. Apple is a joke with a very simple image. That's surprising because most people praise Apple. Well, this person's saying Apple is a joke. That generates an emotional reaction, either positive or negative. And this person's going to talk about everything that's wrong with the iPhone 15. Another example is Mr. Beast, who says that one of the ways that you garner views is basically you take an opinion or a position and you bring it to the extreme. And the more extreme it is, the more attention you'll get, the more of an emotional reaction, click through rates, etc., you're going to get. So here he's showing a golden yacht, $1 versus, I don't know what that is, $1 billion yacht, a very extreme situation. You want to be unique, ownable, and consistent when you're doing your marketing, in particular your advertising. Old Spice does an excellent example of this with this man on the horse. They're making Old Spice fun and youthful again instead of just this old brand that you're going to abandon. Now, do not just mirror the buyer's life back at them. A lot of marketers think that, oh, we'll just put a picture of another engineer that looks like the engineer we're selling to. And to some extent, I understand why. It's because people trust people similar to them. And that's true when you want to do testimonials, case studies. It's true when you want to do direct response letters. But when you're really trying to get attention, you want to be magnetic and give people a reason to look at you, and they don't just want to look at themselves. So, for example, this is the most interesting man in the world. Are most buyers of beer the most interesting men in the world? No, by definition, it's impossible. But this is an aspiration. It's an extreme thing. He once rode a bull until it fell asleep. So this is a magnetic ad. I did something similar. I created the billion-dollar advertising master or the billion-dollar digital marketing master. I hired this actor, and I'm still running this campaign today because it's magnetic. Now, the authors argue that differentiation and reasons to believe are irrelevant. These are often core principles of advertising and marketing to a lot of people. And to some extent, I largely agree with them. People are very often not looking for something different. They're looking for something that fits a preconceived idea of what they want. They want a handbag with a strap. It needs to be a certain size to fit a laptop. It should be made out of leather. There are certain standard things that people want. They don't really want something fundamentally different. What they want is something distinctive that has a brand pegged to it. And the reasons to believe are largely irrelevant because all your competitors often offer the same thing. Now, What I would say is that in certain contexts, this isn't true. In certain contexts, like strategic business to business purchases, differentiation does matter. Really, reasons to believe are relevant. But for the vast majority of products, the authors are correct. What you want to do is enable customers to align themselves with a tribe they aspire to belong to. Help them express who they want to be. Good example of this is Bang& Olufsen. Bang& Olufsen is the number one luxury audio brand. Now, take a look at the prices. They just released this speaker starting at a cost of over $5,000. These speakers cost minimal $11,000 through the standard retail price. But what are you really buying? Are you buying an excellent speaker? Sure. Are you buying a luxury brand? Sure. But often, really, what you're buying is membership in a tribe that says, I'm special, I'm sophisticated, I'm classy, I like good music, I have good taste, these types of things. That's a tribe you want to belong to. And consumers, they really move in herds. So an example of this is my mother in the 1960s or 70s. She was wearing bell-bottom pants, which were popular in the United States. She moved to Canada where they hadn't yet become trendy in rural Canada in a small town. So a lot of people would be shocked to see that. And there would have been a lot of social pressure to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't wear these. Whereas when she was in the United States, it was fine. So really, it's not that there's something fundamentally right or wrong about bell-bottom pants. It's that, is it appropriate given the herd behavior? So that's why it's not just about coming up with a great product. It's creating a product in a cultural context where it'll be accepted by a large social following. You have to be culturally relevant. An example of this is KFC in South Africa. KFC had been successful in the past promoting a story of racial harmony and community, which was very relevant to people that lived during apartheid. They really wanted and resonated with the idea of racial harmony. But for the newer generations who don't remember apartheid at all, that message just doesn't resonate with them. It's not a tribe they want to belong to. It's not something that resonates with them. So KFC had to get with the times. Another thing that's happening, for example, in America, is this drunken frat culture of being funny and tough is just not cool anymore. It's anti-cultural. So Taco Bell also focused a lot on how food is fuel, but now it's an experience. It's something worth talking about. It's if it's not worth talking about, there's really no point to add it to the menu. And also, Taco Bell is aligning itself with Forever 21 by creating clothes, by even having weddings in Las Vegas in a Taco Bell restaurant. So, the approach they used to take in the past, which focused on kind of the frat culture humor, is being replaced by this more experiential type of marketing. What you want to do fundamentally is make your product top of mind and easy to get. A good example of this is DVLA, which is a French luxury speaker company that competes with Bang& Olufsen, who I mentioned earlier. So they're able to create top of mindness by having a distinctive look. And that look is something that makes it obvious and stand out. For example, when they do product placements in this soap opera on Netflix from Korea. So it's very obvious that there are two speakers from DVLA in that show, helps it stay top of mind, and largely because it's distinctive. But it also has to be easy to get. And that's why you see they have a very strong presence on the shelf, basically, which is on Amazon. So they have this little video here. They have a sponsored ad promoting the speaker. They also have a presence in pop-ups in malls. So they're easy to get and easy to think of because of this sort of broad marketing and also the sales activation marketing. A lot of marketers are really focused on segmentation, but segmentation often fails. One of the reasons is because shoppers among competitors in a product category are largely the same. So the people that buy McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell are basically all the same. So if you do research to try to figure out why your customers are different or special, it's largely pointless. Your shoppers are going to be the same as other competitors going after the same shoppers. So really what you need to focus on is not so much segmentation and finding that perfect target audience. It's more um, about developing a big distinctive brand that makes waves, that gets attention. And to do that, you want to focus on iconic assets. So for example, this icon is the KFC bucket. That's a distinctive asset that they can promote. You need to be distinctive. An easy way, one of the easiest ways to do that is just to create a character and a consistent ad framework, perhaps using a funny headline with a certain color, with a certain set attached to it. You could own an entire brand world, like the Skittles rainbow universe. You could own a certain case, etc. Another thing is repetition. You need to repeat your message. Hopefully, it's an easy to understand message so it's remembered. Here's an ad campaign I'm running on Facebook now. You can see the frequency for one of them is 13. So I've repeated that impressions 13 times. They still might not remember it. I'm going to have to keep going and going and going until my brand is embedded in people's minds. You need to be easy to access because people, one of their fundamental attributes is that they're lazy. Humans are lazy. Here are some examples of how to do that. Remove the password requirement for an app. Have a multi-lane drive-through. TikTok didn't require usernames to view videos. Snickers is everywhere, and not only is it everywhere, but it comes in different sizes. So if you just want a quick little snack, you want a bigger snack, you want it in your ice cream, all these situations, easy to access Snickers. Another thing is that it's easier to change actions than emotions. So by making it easier to use your product, you're going to get people to basically have confirmation bias. Oh, I use that product, therefore I must like it. So you need to be easy to access and use, but you also need to be easy to get noticed. So you want breakthrough creative with an emotional reaction, not boring ads that people are going to forget. As you start to do awareness marketing, generally you're going to pay about $5 CPM, cost per mil, cost per 1,000 impressions. With targeted, you generally pay about $25 CPM. In the author's opinion, it's not worth it because you're paying about 5 times the cost, but only getting twice the effectiveness. You're better off just going with the broad targeting at $5. Advertising generally works by affecting memory, not through persuasion, as a lot of people approach it. And you also need to consider the law of buyer moderation, which is that heavy users become light and light users become heavy users. So trying to hyper focus on heavy users is not generally effective because their behavior will change over time. And customers generally don't buy for rational reasons. That's why you focus on memory rather than persuasion or rational persuasion. The key KPIs to focus on: increase sales, obviously, unaided top of mind awareness, which is something a lot of marketers don't focus on because they have a direct response background. And then you also can test your ads after you're running them, but remove the logos and brand names and then query people on the following. Have you seen this? What brand is it for? And was the message compelling and why? Now, to summarize, the overall context of what they're saying is your marketing should be relevant. Is it culturally relevant, functionally relevant, and socially relevant? Is it easy to notice and access? And is it distinctive?